Hello, my stamping friends. Patty Edwards here with Why Stamp with Patty. And today I'm going to continue my Christmas in July series. And we're going to make another card with this Festive Cheer bundle. It has a stamp set that has all these cute little ornaments in them and some sentiments. And then, of course, it has a coordinating die. We're going to make this card today. And we're going to be using some Velveteen paper. And this paper, you can find it online, but it's also pictured in our current catalog. And it comes in Peaceful Pine, Bubble Bath, and white. So this white is going to be nice for some snow scenes this winter when we're making some other cards. And then I'm also going to use this textured tree tree ring textured tree ring 3D embossing folders, and it's one of our large ones, and I am really falling in love with this because it's nice for like a woodsy type of background, but I also used it on a card that I made with the Violet Dreams Sweet. And it's just some nice texture that you can add to a border. So I really am liking this one too. It came out in our July release of online new exclusive products. So let's get started with our card. Our card base is going to be the Secret C, and it's a half sheet cut 5.5 by 8.5 and then scored at 4 1/4. That is our card base. And then I have a couple pieces of crumb cake, and they measure 4 by 5 1/4. And one of them, look at that 3D textured tree ring. I went ahead and ran that through to give that some texture to the outside of our card. So one of these pieces is going to be layered with a piece of basic white, and that's just 1/4 of an inch smaller. So that's 3.5, 3 3/4 by 5. That's going to be the inside panel of our card. Kind of like that double layer sometimes, especially when we're using dark cardstock and we have this same color on the outside. So we have this is going to go as our first panel on our outside card base. So I'm just going to add a little bit of our liquid glue and just center that so that we have equal border all the way around. And then I'm going to bring in some smaller pieces because now we're ready to do some of our extra pieces that we're going to decorate our card with. So the first thing I'm going to do is stamp this image here, and then this image coordinates with it. So this is a 2-step stamp set, and it's nice because you can use this by itself, but then you can add color to this outer ring here with this, and it all of them have a little design that it adds. So the first thing I'm going to do is take my Secret C pad, and we're going to go ahead and stamp this outline image right here on our basic white. Now this is just a scrap. This particular one measures like 2 by 2, but you can just pull something out of your scraps. Now you can use, in these dies, there's little toppers for the ornaments that you can stamp and cut out, or you can just cut out these that have multi, you can cut out a bunch of them at one time, or you can stamp one. And so let's see, I'll show you how that works with stamping it. Gotta get me a little block. And I'm just going to take one of these little teeny tiny images And we're just going to stamp that up in the corner there. So you can either cut them out solid paper, like I could cut the multi pieces out in Secret Sea, or gold or silver, like I did the other day. Now we're ready to add the second step to this step. So we're going to ink this up again with Secret Sea, and then we're going to stamp off. So we get a lighter color, but yet it's the same color that we stamped our outside with. And then we're going to line this up. Go ahead and stamp it down, and that fills it in. Isn't that pretty? Just, you know, adds another image to this beautiful little ornament. Now we're going to set that aside because we're going to die cut that. And I'm going to set these stamps aside. And I'm going to bring in our piece of Peaceful Pine Velveteen. And out of this, I want to cut out 2 of these pieces. And you can just run them through and they come out like this. So you could use regular cardstock, but I just really liked having that texture for this card. And then we have a very small piece of pecan pie, because also in here is a little branch that you can add to this pine sprig. We're going to cut 2 of those out so that we can put them on here. And they look like this. And that's just going to define the branch of our pine. So we're going to add that to there. So set that aside for a minute. And let's see, we also are going to die cut from just a scrap of Secret Sea this particular die. And what it does is it cuts out 5 little strings that we can use on our ornament. And then we also have this little bow that I want to add to my ornament. And we can cut all that out at one time. Now I already cut these out, so I'm going to set that aside. And I'm going to bring in my little, I call this my baby. Bring in my little mini cut and emboss machine. And we have a clear plate on there. And I'm going to take my little image here that we stamped. And now I need the die that's going to cut that out. And I always like to secure my dies in place because sometimes you bump it or move it, and you know, you can use like washi tape or a post-it note. There's post-it note tape that you can use, but that's just gonna hold it in place so it doesn't get bumped. Now this little die, is this, nope, that's not the right one, because there are 2 different ones. This one has more of a rectangle base, so we're gonna put that little piece on there. And I'm going to get another post-it note to hold that in place. Hopefully. We'll see what happens. And then I'm going to run this through. And if you don't know, when you're running the plates through the smaller machine, it's good not to have all 3 plates lined up. It just runs better if you have them offset from each other a little bit. What I mean by that, let me move this stuff out of the way, is that if you try to put them through with them all lined up like this, it sometimes resists. So you can either do what we call an E, where that middle one, let's go this way, see how it's indented, or you can just stagger all 3 and they'll go through the machine a lot better. That's just a little tip for today. Now let's get our dimensionals because we want to have dimensionals ready, especially for these little tiny pieces. And the best way that I have found to keep track of these is my trusty tool pick and a glue dot. So I'm going to pick this up with the, oops, that's not the right one. That has sticky on the bottom. Where did it go? Because I think that one's out. You know, I love the tool pick because it has sticky on one side and pokey tool on the other side. And I can't find the one that has the sticky. So I'll show you this way. So what we're going to do is pick this up, and we're going to take our glue dot and just kind of ball that up so it fits behind there. And then we're going to reattach this to this piece so we don't lose it because it's so tiny. And we're going to put this back on our little sheet, and then we have our ornament. So let's start putting this together. Now, I also cut out, ran this piece through, and what you get when you run that through is the bow, and then 5 of these little strings that you can use to hang the ornaments. And again, when I took them out, I attached them to a glue dot so they stay put. And now the other thing we're going to assemble is our little pine branch, and we're going to add this pecan cardstock to it so it looks like a branch. Now I can take a little scrap of white cardstock or whatever color, and I'm just going to kind of paint the background. Now sometimes I forget to put our adhesive sheets on the back. That's the easiest way to do it. But if you forget, just put a little glue on there and then kind of just paint it on the back. Or you can use our silicone sheets and sponge it on there, on the back of it, and get it evenly placed. See, I put that, I want that down a little bit further so it matches up. There we go. So now there we have our little branch, and I'm going to use 2 of them for this card. And now let's see what our next step is. We're going to bring our card base back in so we have all of our little elements that we need to decorate our card. And I think the first thing, we do need to cut out the Noel. And if you notice, that is popped up. And how I did that was I took some of our foam adhesive sheets, so it's sticky on one side, you peel this back, sticky on one side, sticky on the other side, and we're just going to peel that off, and we're going to adhere that to our cardstock. And then we're going to take our Noel die, and we're going to run that through the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. And I usually run it through and then back it up just for good measure to make sure, because it is thick, that it goes through all the layers. Now, let me see if I have to run that through, or I can find the one that I already did just to save time. But no matter how organized I think I am, sometimes it just doesn't work out. So we'll go ahead and demonstrate that. So I bring back in my little baby, and we're gonna lay that down. So the important thing is that you have the cardstock facing up and then your die facing down on top of it. And then we're going to run that through. And like I said, I like to run it through the one time. And then I just back it up, just for good measure, to make sure that it goes through that thickness. Usually it will go through pretty easily, but I just, whoops, didn't go back far enough. So now you'll see how that cut through. And we're gonna have our letters popped up. So if you don't want them popped up, I would put some adhesive sheets on the back of the card. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to I think I will place my N first. So I kind of get the placement of where I want to have my ornament and my branches to go. So we're going to bring this card in, and kind of just checking that I kind of have an even border here. Maybe I want to go up a little bit. And we're going to add that in. Now I'm going to take this ornament and I'm going to add some dimensionals to the back of that. And I have some of our small dimensionals, but the end pieces work great for, you know, larger areas. So I'm going to go ahead and use some of those end pieces. And I'm going to take my pick tool and pull the backing off of that. I got a little stray piece of something there. And now we can, instead of our O, we're going to go ahead and put this ornament to replace the O in the Noel. And now we can take the E out and add that. Ooh, I think I need to go. Glad I didn't press this down real hard. I'm going to move this over just a smidgen. I hope this comes up okay. Ah, lovely. Because I don't think we're going to have enough room. So I'm just going to kind of lay these on here first, and then I'll press them down real good. Then we'll take the L and add that. Yeah, that's much better spacing. Except this isn't really centered. Okay, let's straighten that out a little bit. And now I think we can go ahead and press those down in place. Okay, so we have the Noel, and now we want to add our accessories to our, so I'm going to take one of the strings and just pull that off, and I'm gonna kind of set that in the center for right now. Oops, not ready for the bow. And the best way to pick up these little pieces, like I said, is to use the pick tool. Okay, I did find the one that had the little sticky on it, but now I got a glue dot. Okay, so I'm going to add this on there. And we'll straighten out our little string. And then we're going to add our bow to the card. So we'll just kind of put that at the top of the topper, like that. And, you know, if you don't want to put the topper on, you don't have to, because On my original one, I just did the bow and the string. I didn't add the topper. All right, now we're ready to place our branches. I'm gonna put one kind of that way and one coming down so it looks like that's kind of hanging from that pine branch. And I'm just gonna add some of our mini dimensionals to the back in the spots that are big enough that we can kind of put them where they won't be seen. Let's turn that over and make sure. Now, if it is showing, we can just take our scissors and I just kind of cut it at an angle so that it doesn't show through. And then I'm going to take off the backing here. And we're going to place this one kind of in an upward direction. And this one is going to go in a more downward direction. Okay, I got a little bit showing between that branch there. So again, I'm just going to cut that at an angle so that it doesn't show. And then we can kind of take our pick tool, make sure that that's not going to show in front. Press that. And this one, now we want to make sure this string is straight. And this little branch is going to kind of look like it's coming out of that particular branch. And it's going to kind of hang down. And then I want to snip off the excess of that string because it's just going to look like it's hanging from the branch. So we don't want it going past. And there you have it. There's the outside of our card. Now, if you want to add some little pizza resistance and have a little bling on there, our basic rhinestones, you know, they're very generic. You could even color it with the Secret Sea blend, but I'm just going to stick one in there. And then voila, your card is done. And then on the inside, we're just going to stamp whatever sentiment we want. And I don't know, let's see, what should we put in there? Sending cheer. Oh, deck the halls, because we have an ornament. So I'm going to use that. Mount that on our block, and we'll get our Secret Sea pad back. You know, my table isn't that big, and things just go missing. All right, let's go ahead and ink up our deck the holes. A lot of times I like to stamp my greeting first before I tack it down. And let's see, in this stamp set, there's also some little sparkle doodads. So let's add a little bit of that to the inside. And some little starbursts. So we're going to ink that up. And then just maybe add a few of those to our card also. There, that looks pretty festive. Now we're ready to adhere this panel to our inside crumb cake. That was the same size as our outside. And then we're going to go ahead and add some glue to the crumb cake panel. open this up, make sure it's the right direction, and center that. So it kind of looks nice with that extra border instead of just putting a white panel in there. I kind of like doing that sometimes. And there you go. Now you have another card ready for, I'm going to straighten that out a little bit. Another card ready for your holiday Christmas card. Sending that out. So here's the inside and here's the outside of our card. Thanks for watching, and as always, I'm going to put this on my YouTube channel, and I'd appreciate if you would like and subscribe.